The plaster on these walls has become detached from the stones behind, and if I tap it, it sounds a bit hollow, and that's allowing moisture to get in behind, and that's not good. But first, there's a few things I need to do in this lounge, or salon as the French call it. The last time it was occupied was about 30 years ago. We think around about 1992, and there's sort of debris and detritus left in here. There's like old sewing machines and cabinets and things like that, so we've got to clear it all out basically. Here we have an old sewing machine, and it's got a couple of drawers in it, and I've just made a discovery, and it's got an old sort of like passport and sort of like another little document, a little sewing box and a diary, and I'll just bring it into better light to show you what I found. In there is a carte d'identité, a carte de lecteur, and then this little diary dated year 1934, and inside is a list of local towns and a list of road names in the local town, and then sort of some figures. And then there's a tin of pastels, and then someone's face, and then a carte d'identité dated 1912, and well, that guy there we know is the guy that built the house, and we assume that's his wife. Interesting, eh? Things you find. Now, the carte de lecteur is dated 1958, so we assume that is one of the descendants, one of the grandchildren.
So what do you think then?
It's looking better. They're looking a lot lighter and cleaner.
Yeah.
A lot less burnt.
It's a lot of hard work. It's so I've put on it first with a paintbrush, some bleach, some bicarb and a bit of water to make a paste. So put that on, and then I've left it for kind of like half a day, and then in here is vinegar and water, and the vinegar reacts with the bicarb, and then scrubbing brush, just scrub it off, and yeah, it's coming up a lot lighter, isn't it? Yeah. I like it, and I like the fact that we've not taken away part of the you know, with like a sander or one of them wire-headed brushes, we've still left all of the beam on there. We've just cleaned the rubbish off it. The nearest to fire is going to probably need 2 coats.
Or
more. But it's coming up really well, and I think, because it only needs to come down to about here, because we're going to have insulation and plasterboard in between the beams, and it'll make it so much lighter in here as well. And we won't have taken away years and years of history by sanding it all off. So I think it's going to look really nice. It's going to be cosy, but it's going to be a lot brighter in here because it's quite a dark room. Yeah, so I'm a quarter of the way there. And like I say, with the white plasterboard in between, it's going to look great.
Just removing the mortar from the bottom half of the wall, and what we've actually discovered is, from about, I don't know, half a metre up, the bottom half of the wall is actually huge. What's that, 2 centimetre thick slate slabs. Yeah, I'm still not convinced whatever this is on the wall is slate. It's definitely very black, but yeah, I'm not really sure what it is, but whatever it is, it's blown. It's not really that well connected to the wall. So I'm going to take it off, I think. I'm going to talk to the wife, Mandy. So if this all goes wrong, you know it's your fault, because you said yeah.
No, it's a joint effort. I said yeah, but you're actually hitting it off, so it'll be both our faults.
Both our faults?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's twice as hard as the other stuff. It's like, what do you call it? Concrete?
Limecrete, yeah. I think it might be that they've added that on extra because it was so damp at the bottom, maybe. Maybe that's the newer stuff that they've put on.
Newer stuff, yeah. But when I did the stuff up at the top layer, where it had so much smoke, it hardened the top layer. Like absolute cement. Oh, that's trapping me out. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
That's coming off now. Go on, give it some weddy. That's concrete, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like concrete, but the
yeah, look, that's concrete there.
Yeah, it's concrete, but it's been flattened by smoke. Yeah, so it's not
slate or anything.
It's not slate. Nice. It's concrete like they've done the kitchen.
Yeah, and I think they've probably, because it's like practically in a line, isn't it? So I think maybe.
Well, that side's what, 30 centimetres or
that's
more
higher.
40 centimetres higher.
Yeah.
And they've done the cupboard as well.
Yeah.
It used to be a cupboard. They've concreted that.
Yeah, so yeah, I reckon it's concrete, that's why it's a bit
Oh,
tougher.
so that's going to slow our progress down a treat.
It is, but it still needs to come off.
Oh,
more so than if it was just lime, because
Yeah,
it needs to breathe. Might be why it's so musty in here all the time.
Yeah, it smells.
Because it can't
horrible.
breathe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go and do some caulking on the beams upstairs, and I'll leave you to crack on.
Thanks. This is what we got on our walls. On the surface it does look a bit like slate, or from the side it looks a bit like granite. It's definitely absorbed quite a lot of water. We've applied bleach to various parts of the room. We've applied mould remover and various other chemicals. It's obviously absorbed quite a lot of water. If it was show mortar, it would have released that water, say, overnight or over a couple of days, but being cement, it's held on to that water for a considerable amount of time, say weeks or even possibly, all year. So yeah, it's rather horrible stuff. It's incredibly hard. It's taken us, several days to chip it off various parts of the room. So yeah, pretty nasty stuff. Right where I was tapping on the wall earlier, showing you where the plaster had blown, there's a huge crack in the wall where all the mortar has washed out and all the lime has disappeared. And it goes all the way down the wall here. And you can see in this stone here where there's a crack in it, and there's further cracks in the wall down here, down in the stones here, and there's more here and here. And this is where the mortar has disappeared between the stone here, and where the mortar has disappeared, it's now pressing down on the stone below, causing it to crack. And that will happen all over the wall here and over here and here. So yeah, it's pretty timely that we're repairing the wall now, really. Well, it should have been done 30 years ago, really. In previous videos, we mentioned how windows in the loft were broken, tiles have slipped, guttering was broken, etc. Now that has done sort of damage to the front of the house. And as you can see here, this lintel here below the window, that's got a huge crack in it. Now that also might be due to there were 2 centimetres of cement across here, what I spent an hour or so chipping away at, and that would have expanded due to all the water coming down. Now that has also caused damage, as you can see here. Oh, came off in my hand, that's not good. But there we go, it's obviously damaged. But yeah, now that's also caused damage to this double glazing unit, top and bottom. So we're basically probably going to have to take this double glazing unit out and repair. Now this here is a sink basin. Now you would have put logs in the bottom of here, lit the logs. Now across here would have been another granite tray where you would have basically washed your hands. Now someone, when they put the window in, obviously thought, oh, don't like that ancient architectural feature, let's smash it up and take it out. Or it might have broken anyway. Now we spent many hours yesterday chiseling off the cement off the walls, and as you can see, there's 8 or 9 bags of cement there. Now the smell in here is quite overpowering now with damp, and it smells, well, quite composty and mould here. There's no need to wear a mask because everything is, well, very damp, although I am going to wear a mask because obviously there might be mould spores in the air. So yeah, we've still got an awful lot of clearing up and cement to chisel off the walls. Now here, the walls have been infilled with bricks, so we might have to take all the brickwork out and expose the fireplace a little bit more. Now the wall over there is a little bit more proud than it is here, so we might have even more bricks to expose. So yeah, lots of work to do. I peeled the cement off of this wall yesterday afternoon, evening, and already, I mean, it's a pretty warm week. I mean, the temperatures have been hitting nearly 40 degrees, but as you can see, it's already almost dry, and the smell, which was pretty overpowering, it was pretty mouldy and composty yesterday, virtually no smell today. So really brilliant news. So yeah, it's all nice and dry. And again, over here, this wall, all covered in cement, nice and dry. But this wall doesn't face into the sun, so nice and dry at the top. But as we come down to the bottom, yeah, different story. It's still very damp at the bottom. So yeah. And the problem is, when the mortar's damp, if you imagine damp mortar is a bit like mud, if you like. It's very squashy. It's like jelly. The stones are free to squash together. So when the mortar's hard, it's a bit like hard soil, rock hard soil. It can't squash together. But when it dries out, the mortar turns to sand. There you go. And again, double trouble. The stones can squash together again. So yeah, we're going to have to rake out between all of these stones and put in fresh mortar. So yeah, still lots of work to do in this room. But before we rake out down the bottom, we're going to let it all dry first. But yeah, lots of work to do. The plaster on this chimney is very blown, meaning it's detached from the bricks. But what I've just discovered up in this top corner is, I don't know if you can see it, there's a bit of a circle. And if I come across to the centre, there's another circle here. And it's a bit hard to see, but there's another tiny circle here. That might just be a crack, might be another circle. But what I think it is, instead of putting the flue straight up the chimney where you'd expect, I think they bypassed and gone straight into the front of the chimney breast, which is, you know, very odd to me. Despite these old round flue holes being roughly exactly brick size, they've decided to fill them up with rubble. I mean, you could literally take a brick and poke it in the hole. 2 bricks on top of each other. And this one, they've decided to poke in, let me grab it, a bit of old roof tile and plaster over the top. And obviously, you know, a bird has decided to nest in behind it, and the plaster was blown on top and coming down from that. As you see, another huge crack. I've just found a junction box in the wall, and it covers up a 6mm 3-phase cable which appears to go into the rear salon. But the weird thing is, this house only ever had a 1 kilowatt supply, and apart from the light I put in here so Mandy could work, this room never had any sockets. Never had a light switch or anything fancy like that, and this side of the house never had any power. But there was oil or log burner in the rear salon, so it might have been for that, or it might have been for, say, at some point they might have put a cooker where this stove was, and it might have been that the stove might have gone in through one of these two holes. The third hole turned out to be a piece of plywood just about there, so yeah, that solved that mystery. But yeah, it's a bit odd. The top half of this wall was show mortared down to about where that red cable is sticking out the wall, and down in the bottom there you can see it's very dark brown, and there are probably litres of water held in the wall down there. I mean, you'd almost have to hose it down to get it that wet. And when we moved in, there was a radiator in this corner here, and behind the radiator the wallpaper was just peeling off, and you can still see there's damp marks on the wall down there where basically there was mould growing. So yeah, you can see the damage that cement has done on the wall. So it's a good job we're taking it off now, and it will only take I don't know, 24-48 hours for that water now to evaporate. Just spent a lovely evening with our adorable French neighbours in the building site. Very nice.
So this week
it's been quite a demonstration of why you should use lime mortar and not cement.
Definitely.
Because as soon as we took the lime mortar off the walls, it was dry underneath.
Yeah.
And since we took the cement underneath off the walls, it was basically like someone had hosed.
It was soaking, wasn't it?
There were litres of water coming out the walls. It was almost pouring out the walls. And we've been in the middle of a bit of a heat wave, really. It's been hitting nearly 40 degrees outside, so everything should, in theory, be dry. So, and since we took them off, well, the whole house stank, didn't it?
It's always been sort of damp smelling in this room, and I could never figure out why.
Yeah.
Because it's a dry room.
When we moved into the house, in this particular room, the wallpaper was peeling off. There was black mould in corners of the room, and it always had a bit of a well, it smelled like old socks, let's put it.
Yeah, it was like a damp smell.
Yeah, so
but everywhere looked and felt dry.
We cleaned various corners of the room with bleach and stuff like that, but we could never get rid of the smell. And
now we know why.
But you know, you read on the internet and things like that, oh, you must use lime mortar, it's good for the house, blah blah blah, you know, all of that sort of stuff. But to have it actually visually in front of your face in sort of smelly-vision, in colour, light, dark, soaking wet, almost, you know, so you can actually feel it with your fingertips. That's soaking wet, that's bone dry, that stinks, that doesn't stink. It was such a visual, sensory, you know, thing.
Overload, wasn't it?
Sensory overload of, you know, this is good, that is terrible, you know. So yeah, it was a real lesson, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So
it's so don't use concrete on old houses.
So we're gonna do the old girl what she deserves and sort her out. And it's only going to take 48 hours for the
lime to go off.
The the room to dry out and fix itself. So it's crazy, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't smell in here anymore now.
It doesn't smell. It's all drying out. It's fixing itself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's us thinking we're going to have to dig drainage trenches outside and everything. No.
But no, it's fixed itself. So anyway, as usual, folks, give us a bit of the old like and subscribe. I love a bit of that. And we'll see you soon for the next install.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.